My alien guest experiences human reproduction method for the first time. Xylox hovered nervously outside the small, glass-walled house. The alien's four eyes blinked rapidly, scanning every detail of Earth's architecture. His host, Dr. Emily Harris, had insisted he spend time observing human daily life, and Xylox was eager to learn, but nervous too. Humans were strange, emotional, and far more unpredictable than the data he had analyzed from afar. Today, however, he had one particular topic in mind: human reproduction. Xylox, Emily said, stepping outside, remember, you can observe, but you must respect privacy. Humans have boundaries and reproduction is delicate. Xylox's antenna twitched. Yes, yes, Dr. Emily. I understand. I only wish to fully comprehend the human reproductive process. I must experience it firsthand to log accurate data. Emily raised an eyebrow but said nothing. She had learned long ago that arguing with Xylox was usually pointless. The alien had a single-minded determination that bordered on obsessive. Inside the house, the smells were peculiar to Xylox's senses, faintly sweet, slightly warm, with hints of metal and fabric. He scanned the living room with his multi-spectrum vision, noticing small human objects scattered everywhere. A soft, plush object on the couch caught his attention. It was a baby doll lying on its back with tiny limbs stretched out. Xylox crouched, eyes wide. Simulation, perhaps, he muttered to himself. Why would humans leave their reproductive subjects exposed? Odd behavior. Emily chuckled from the kitchen. That's just a toy, Xylox. Humans like to have representations of babies around to practice parenting or to entertain children. Xylox tilted his head, processing. Practice, parenting, intriguing. So the human reproductive process includes ongoing preparation after the initial event. Fascinating. He carefully picked up the doll, turning it over in his hands. Soft, fragile, inefficient. My species uses rapid cellular division. No parental care necessary. Humans must be quite patient. Emily nodded, pouring tea. Yes, patience is part of it. Humans take care of their children for years, sometimes decades. Xylox's antennae quivered. Years, decades, preposterous, yet effective it seems. Later that afternoon, Xylox found a stack of human educational materials in the living room. Books, diagrams, and videos detailed the steps of human reproduction. He pored over them, his four eyes scanning rapidly, absorbing every image and description. There were graphs of fertilization, gestation, and birth. There were notes on parental bonding and child development. Xylox's antennae twitched in confusion. So many steps, so many emotions, why not simply clone? He muttered aloud. Yet humans thrive. Emily walked in behind him. Cloning isn't the same, Xylox. Humans bond through the process. That connection is part of what makes us human. Xylox tilted his head. Connection, bonding, emotional reinforcement. Data noted. Still, I must see the process to fully comprehend it. The next day, Emily arranged a small experiment. She had prepared a virtual simulation that could represent the reproductive process safely, without exposing any humans to risk. Xylox's eyes gleamed when he saw the setup, a holographic room filled with floating sperm and egg representations, all moving in slow, exaggerated motions. This is a simulation? Xylox asked, barely able to contain excitement. Yes, Emily said. You can observe and interact without affecting real humans. Think of it as a learning tool. Xylox immediately stepped forward, extending his hands to manipulate the holograms. He examined the egg, poking and prodding, trying to understand why such a tiny object could have so much importance. Why is one small cell so critical? In my species, any cell can reproduce. This fragility, remarkable. Emily smiled. It is. Humans invest a lot in every child. One mistake can be dangerous, so we take care. Xylox watched as the sperm approached the egg. His eyes widened. So many attempts, yet only one succeeds. Highly inefficient, yet effective. Curious, he reached to accelerate the process with his alien technology, but the hologram flickered and squirmed. System unstable, must adjust parameters. Hours passed. Xylox asked endless questions, each more literal than the last. Why does the egg emit signals? Why do sperm compete? Why not combine all at once? Why is there a gestation period instead of immediate growth? Emily answered patiently, explaining bonding, development, and evolutionary reasons for the slow process. Xylox listened carefully, nodding. Every answer added to his admiration. Humans were patient, creative, and surprisingly resilient. Unlike his species, which thrived on speed and efficiency, humans had developed a system that demanded care and attention, and somehow they had succeeded. As the simulation advanced, Xylox began to notice smaller details he had overlooked. The bond between the virtual parents, the careful timing, the constant adjustments to ensure success, these were not just mechanical steps. There was intention, emotion, and intelligence embedded in every action. Xylox paused and observed a simulated parent cradling a holographic infant. So, humans bond not only to the process but also to the product. Fascinating, Emily nodded. Yes. That connection is what makes raising a child meaningful and effective. Love is part of survival strategy. Xylox's eyes shimmered. Love as an evolutionary tool, brilliant. Efficiency does not equal success. Humans, extraordinary. By evening, Xylox was exhausted, though his curiosity remained insatiable. He had witnessed, interacted with, and analyzed every step of the simulation. Yet there was a lingering sense of wonder, something he could not fully quantify. Humans were unpredictable, emotional, and persistent. They embraced difficulty and they thrived. Emily placed a cup of tea in front of him. That was a lot for one day. Xylox sipped cautiously, processing. Yes, humans are remarkable, inefficient, slow, fragile, yet thriving. Data logged, emotional components highly influential. My species must reconsider certain protocols. Emily laughed. You mean cloning isn't the only way? Perhaps not, Xylox admitted, antennae twitching thoughtfully. Perhaps there is value in patience, in care, in connection. I admire humans. As night fell, Xylox floated outside the window, gazing at the stars. Earth had given him so much to learn, yet he felt a spark of something new, respect, curiosity, and awe. Humans were not just another species. They were remarkable in ways that no simulation could entirely capture. And somewhere deep in his analytical mind, Xylox was already planning part 2, experiencing human reproduction more closely, in a controlled, safe, and entirely scientific way. He had only just begun to understand, and he could hardly wait to see what other secrets humans held. The first day had ended, but Xylox's adventure had only just begun. And though he could not yet articulate it in words, he felt the undeniable thrill of discovery, the sense that humans, in all their inefficiency and patience, were truly something extraordinary. Xylox awoke early the next morning, his mind buzzing with anticipation. Today was the day he would finally experience the human reproductive process, at least in the controlled, safe environment Emily had prepared. The simulation room glowed softly, holographic images hovering in the air like tiny stars. Xylox's 4 eyes scanned the setup, taking in every detail. Are you ready? Emily asked, stepping beside him. Xylox's antennae quivered with excitement. Ready is an understatement, Dr. Emily. I am eager to witness and analyze every aspect. Today I will understand the full sequence from conception to bonding. Emily smiled. Remember, it's a simulation. Everything is safe. You can interact as much as you like. Xylox floated into the center of the room, hovering over the holographic scene. Virtual sperm swam energetically toward a single egg, which glowed softly. The scene was simplified, yet realistic enough to show Xylox the complexity of human reproduction. He reached out, touching the holograms, curious to feel the difference in textures and densities, even if simulated. Fascinating, he muttered. Each component has a precise function, yet the competition highly inefficient yet elegant. He manipulated the holograms, observing different sperm take turns approaching the egg. He paused at one particularly slow-moving sperm. Why does this one struggle? Why not eliminate weaker elements for efficiency? Emily replied patiently, not everything about human reproduction is about efficiency. Sometimes survival favors diversity. The strongest isn't always the fastest. Sometimes it's the one that adapts. Xylox processed this, tilting his head. Adaptation, a variable humans consider in ways my species ignores. Intriguing. Hours passed as Xylox experimented with different scenarios, altering the environment, observing results, and asking countless questions. Each time, Emily explained the balance between nature and nurture, biology and emotion. Xylox's respect grew steadily. Humans were patient architects of life, crafting survival strategies that went far beyond raw speed or power. Next, the holographic simulation shifted to gestation. Xylox watched as a tiny virtual embryo grew slowly inside a holographic womb. He extended his hands, gently feeling the pulse of growth, marveling at how humans nurtured life over months rather than minutes. Growth is slow yet precise, energy investment enormous, humans remarkably diligent. Emily added, it's not just the physical growth, the bonding starts here too. Parents feel emotions and form connections even before the child is born. That bond helps both the parent and the child survive. Xylox paused, antennae twitching. Emotional reinforcement, survival benefit, brilliant. The inefficiency I noted before actually contributes to resilience. Humans are extraordinary. As the simulation continued, Xylox observed the virtual parents preparing for birth. The avatars communicated, coordinated, and anticipated challenges. Xylox studied the timing, noting how every detail mattered: nutrition, rest, and the emotional state of the parents. He attempted to improve efficiency by introducing alien protocols, but each time the simulation corrected itself, demonstrating that humans had already optimized the process in ways he hadn't considered. "This is fascinating," Xylox whispered. "I assumed speed and replication were superior, yet humans achieve success through care, patience, and connection. I underestimated them." Emily smiled at Xylox's awe. "You're beginning to understand. Human reproduction isn't just about biology. It's about relationships, strategy, and love." Xylox paused, considering her words. Love. He had observed it before, in parents cradling children, in couples sharing quiet moments, in friends helping each other. Yet now he understood its deeper significance, a force that strengthened bonds, increased survival chances, and nurtured intelligence. The simulation advanced to post-birth care. Xylox observed holographic parents holding their child, feeding, soothing, and teaching. He reached out, touching the soft simulation of tiny hands and feet. So, the process does not end at birth. Continuous involvement essential. Humans truly invest in the next generation. Remarkable. Emily nodded. Yes. Humans thrive not because reproduction is fast, but because it's thoughtful. Each step matters. Xylox studied the child avatars as they interacted with their parents. Every movement, every response was a lesson. Parents guided, encouraged, and corrected, ensuring the child learned the skills needed for survival. Xylox marveled at the patience displayed. In his species, young were fully capable immediately. On Earth, humans depended on guidance, yet they succeeded through dedication. Hours melted away as Xylox immersed himself in the simulation. He experimented with variations, asking, what if this parent rested more? What if that child learned faster? Emily explained why balance was critical, why even small changes could disrupt growth or bonding. Xylox adjusted his understanding. Humans were not chaotic, they were careful, deliberate, and highly adaptable. By the afternoon, Xylox floated back, exhausted but elated. He had observed conception, gestation, birth, and early child care. He had interacted with the simulation, tested hypotheses, and recorded vast amounts of data. Yet more than data, he carried awe. Humans were not the fastest or strongest species, but they were among the most intelligent, resilient, and emotionally complex. Emily poured him a cup of tea. You look like you've had a full day. Xylox accepted it, antennae twitching. Full day indeed, yet I am grateful. Humans, I admire them. Their patience, dedication, and care, they have created a system that is both fragile and strong. They thrive where my species might fail. Emily smiled. That's the essence of HFY Xylox. Humans succeed in their own unique ways through creativity, persistence, and compassion. Xylox's eyes shimmered as he reflected. Yes, the inefficiency is intentional. The slow growth, the emotional investment, the bonding, these are not weaknesses, they are strengths. Humans extraordinary. Later, as the sun set, Xylox floated outside again, gazing at the stars. He had learned more than he could have imagined. Not just about reproduction, but about life itself. The beauty in patience, the power in connection, and the intelligence in love. His report to his home planet would be detailed, but it would also carry admiration. Humans were clever beyond measure. Perhaps, he mused aloud, we in my species could benefit from observing this method, not to copy but to learn. Patience, care, bonding, valuable lessons. Emily leaned on the railing beside him. You've learned a lot, Xylox, and tomorrow you can continue exploring. But for now, let's just watch the stars. Xylox tilted his head, antennae twitching. He felt something new, a sense of respect, curiosity, and even warmth. Humans were not perfect, but they were remarkable. He had come seeking knowledge, and he had found something greater, admiration for a species that thrived not through force or speed, but through care, thought, and connection. As night deepened, the alien made final notes in his data log. He described every step of the simulation, every observation, and every question asked. But he also included reflections, thoughts on patience, emotion, and resilience. He knew his home species might not fully understand, but he would try to explain. Humans were more than biology. They were strategy, intelligence, and heart combined. Finally, Xylox rested, floating near the window, watching Earth's lights flicker in the darkness. He had completed his first full observation of human reproduction. But more importantly, he had gained insight into what made humans extraordinary. They succeeded not because they were fast or strong, but because they cared, adapted, and loved. And somewhere in the depths of his analytical mind, Xylox knew that his journey with humans was only beginning. Earth held mysteries yet to explore, lessons yet to learn, and wonders yet to witness. But for now, he felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing he had witnessed, understood, and admired a process that defined humanity in the most profound way possible. The stars above glimmered, and Xylox, the curious alien, smiled. Humanity had shown him that strength was not just in survival, but in care, patience, and connection. That, he decided, was worth more than any data point. Xylox had spent several weeks on Earth now, and each day brought new lessons. Today, however, felt different. Emily had planned for him to observe humans not through simulations or books, but through everyday life, to see how humans nurtured and interacted with their children outside of controlled experiments. As Xylox entered the bustling neighborhood park, his 4 eyes scanned the scene. Children ran across the grass, laughter echoing in the crisp morning air. Parents watched attentively, some holding hands, others kneeling beside small feet as they learned to navigate swings and slides. Xylox floated slightly above the ground, antennae twitching with curiosity. "Observe everything," Emily whispered beside him. "Watch not only what humans do, but how they do it. Pay attention to care, attention, and emotion. These are what make humans remarkable." Xylox's gaze landed on a young girl, no more than 4 Earth years old, struggling to climb a small ladder to a slide. Her father was close, hand hovering just behind her back, ready to catch if needed. Xylox tilted his head. So, physical guidance, yet also emotional support. Humans combine both aspects efficiently. He moved closer, fascinated by the careful balance. The girl wobbled but reached the top, squealing with delight. Her father clapped, smiling broadly. Xylox studied the reaction carefully. Humans reinforced success not only through safety, but also through positive reinforcement. It was an intelligent approach to learning and survival. Next, Xylox observed a mother teaching her toddler to draw with colorful chalk. Lines were crooked, colors spilled beyond intended spaces, yet the mother praised the effort, guiding hands gently when needed. Xylox recorded data meticulously. Teaching involves patience, encouragement, and correction. Humans invest both time and emotion, remarkable efficiency in emotional terms, though not in mechanical speed. He floated to a bench and watched an older child, perhaps 7 or 8, build a miniature sandcastle with friends. There was laughter, negotiation, compromise, and shared decision-making. Xylox's antennae quivered in fascination. Collaboration, social strategy, critical for survival. Humans teach not only skills, but cooperation, empathy, and flexibility. Extraordinary. Emily leaned closer. That's what makes humans thrive. Survival isn't only about biology, it's about teaching, learning, and adapting. These children are being prepared not just for life, but for life together. Xylox paused, considering. His species had intelligence, speed, and strength, but social learning was minimal. On Earth, humans invested heavily in knowledge transfer. They thrived because they taught each other, nurtured each other, and adapted continuously. As the day progressed, Xylox followed families through various activities. He saw a father helping his child tie shoelaces, a mother guiding a toddler on a tricycle, and older siblings teaching younger ones games that required strategy and patience. Each act, small though it appeared, carried profound significance. Humans invested heavily in every stage of life, ensuring the next generation could survive, thrive, and innovate. Around midday, Xylox's attention shifted to a larger scene. A group of children was playing a cooperative game, and one child fell, scraping a knee. Immediately, parents rushed to help, administering care, comfort, and encouragement. Xylox analyzed the sequence carefully. The child's fear was soothed, pain reduced, and resilience strengthened. Humans had developed not only physical tools but also emotional tools to ensure survival. Pain and fear mitigated through guidance and comfort. Humans turned vulnerability into strength. Impressive, Xylox murmured. Emily watched him closely. It's not just physical care, Xylox. It's emotional growth, too. Children learn to trust, to persevere, and to feel secure. That's why humans succeed where others might fail. Xylox floated to a quieter corner of the park and observed a small family picnic. Parents guided their children as they ate, explained the importance of hygiene, and encouraged sharing. Xylox noted every detail: the teaching of manners, the encouragement of exploration, the subtle reinforcement of teamwork and patience. Every small act carried a hidden lesson. As he observed, Xylox began to understand that human reproduction was only the first step. What followed, the care, the teaching, the patience, and the emotional guidance, was equally important. Without it, human offspring might not thrive. But with it, they became resilient, adaptive, and capable of extraordinary achievements. By late afternoon, Emily guided Xylox to a community center, where children were engaged in creative learning, painting, music, storytelling, and problem-solving games. Xylox was amazed at the diversity of skills humans imparted. They encouraged imagination, emotional expression, and critical thinking. The children were not merely surviving, they were being prepared to excel in complex societies. Xylox hovered above a group painting a mural. Colors were vibrant, lines imperfect, yet the result was cooperative and expressive. Xylox tilted his head. Humans teach not only survival but culture, communication, identity. Their success is multidimensional, remarkable. In the music room, children learned to play instruments. Xylox observed a teacher guiding each child patiently, correcting mistakes gently, praising progress. Patience, repetition, emotional encouragement. Humans refine skills not through force but through nurture. Astonishing. Even in storytelling, Xylox noticed profound strategy. Children were encouraged to ask questions, imagine possibilities, and draw lessons from stories. Humans had invented ways to teach abstract concepts long before formal education existed. Each tale was both entertainment and instruction. Xylox's admiration grew steadily. As evening approached, Xylox found himself back in the park. The sun was setting, casting golden light across the playground. Families were packing up, children yawning but still laughing. Xylox hovered silently, antennae twitching thoughtfully. He realized that human reproduction was not simply about biology. It was the beginning of a process that involved care, guidance, education, and emotional investment, a process that created not only life but civilization. Emily joined him. "What do you think, Xylox?" she asked gently. Xylox's 4 eyes glimmered. "Humans, I admire them. Every step I have observed, from conception to childhood, demonstrates patience, intelligence, and care. They do not rush. They do not rely solely on strength. They invest, they nurture, they teach, they inspire. I had thought efficiency meant speed, yet here it means something else entirely." Emily nodded. "That's the essence of what humans do. We succeed not because we are the fastest or strongest, but because we care, adapt, and connect." Xylox reflected on the weeks he had spent on Earth. He had learned more than any book or simulation could have taught him. Humans were flawed, yes. They made mistakes, faltered, and sometimes struggled. But their perseverance, creativity, and emotional intelligence made them resilient in ways his species had never fully developed. A gentle breeze rustled the trees, carrying laughter and the faint scent of grass and flowers. Xylox hovered quietly, contemplating. He realized that every human he had observed, every child nurtured, and every parent guiding was part of a system that balanced fragility with strength, emotion with logic, and patience with determination. "This is HFY in its truest form," Xylox whispered. "Humans succeed not in spite of their methods, but because of them. They are remarkable." As night fell, the park emptied, leaving only the rustling trees and distant city lights. Xylox floated silently, reflecting on what he had learned. He had come seeking knowledge of human reproduction, but he had found something far greater: insight into a species that thrived not because it was perfect, but because it invested deeply in each new generation, cultivating resilience, creativity, and intelligence. Emily placed a hand on his shoulder. You've seen the full circle, Xylox, from conception to culture, and you understand why humans succeed. Xylox nodded slowly. Yes, I do. I have observed, analyzed, and recorded. Yet more than data, I carry respect, admiration, and inspiration. Humans are not merely a species. They are a testament to the power of care, patience, and connection. With that, Xylox returned to his temporary home, preparing to compile his final report. He would document every detail, every observation, every lesson. But he would also record his reflections. Humans were extraordinary, not because they were fast, strong, or flawless, but because they nurtured life, cultivated knowledge, and embraced complexity. As he gazed out at the night sky, Xylox felt something unusual: gratitude. For the first time in his analytical existence, he realized that observation alone was not enough. To understand a species fully, one had to appreciate their struggles, triumphs, and values. And in humans, he had found a species that embodied ingenuity, resilience, and heart. The stars twinkled above, and Xylox smiled. His journey with humans had begun with curiosity, moved through understanding, and ended with profound admiration. He had come seeking knowledge, and he had found wisdom. Humanity, in all its inefficiency, emotion, and care, had proven itself extraordinary. And Xylox knew without a doubt that Earth and its remarkable inhabitants would continue to teach him lessons he could never have imagined. Xylox had spent months on Earth, learning, observing, and recording. Each day brought new wonders, from the intricate ways humans nurtured children to the clever strategies they used to solve problems. Today, Emily had arranged for him to experience something entirely different: human innovation in action. They arrived at a small science and technology fair held in the city. Humans of all ages were demonstrating inventions, experiments, and projects designed to make life easier, solve problems, or simply entertain. Xylox's 4 eyes widened as he scanned the scene. There were machines that moved without human hands, chemical reactions contained safely in glass containers, and young humans explaining complex ideas with surprising confidence. "This is extraordinary," Xylox murmured. "Humans are not only nurturing life but also enhancing it." "Their ingenuity is boundless," Emily smiled. "You're seeing the results of education, creativity, and human persistence. Every invention you see comes from observation, trial, and error, much like what you observed in parenting and teaching." Xylox floated closer to a display where a young girl demonstrated a small robot she had built. It moved on wheels, responding to commands and following simple instructions. Xylox's antennae twitched with interest. "So humans combine observation, experimentation, and emotional motivation to create tools. Fascinating." The girl noticed him watching and smiled. "Do you want to try it?" she asked. Xylox hovered hesitantly. "I suppose so. I am curious about human methods of interaction with machines." The girl handed him a small remote. Xylox pressed the buttons with delicate care. The robot moved forward, turned, and then performed a small dance the girl had programmed. Xylox tilted his head. Observation, creativity, execution. Humans integrate multiple skills seamlessly. Remarkable efficiency in skill combination, despite slower individual steps than my species. Next, Xylox moved to a table where several teenagers were experimenting with chemical reactions that produced safe but colorful effects. Each student took turns measuring, mixing, and observing results. Xylox noted the precision, cooperation, and patience. Trial and error guided by observation and knowledge sharing, humans thrive through incremental improvement. Astonishing. Emily leaned closer. Humans build on each other's work. Knowledge is shared, mistakes are learned from, and progress is continuous. That's why our species advances so rapidly despite physical limitations. Xylox observed a group of students presenting a solution to reduce waste in their community. They explained their research, discussed possible challenges, and demonstrated a prototype. Xylox analyzed every step. Problem identification, solution design, teamwork, implementation. Humans solve challenges with creativity, collaboration, and emotional investment. Extraordinary. Later, Xylox visited a section of the fair focused on arts. Children and adults were painting murals, performing music, and telling stories. Xylox watched carefully. He had already observed creativity in child development, but seeing it expressed publicly in such varied forms fascinated him. Humans were not only nurturing life, but also enriching it culturally. A young boy played a violin with intense concentration, eyes closed, swaying with the rhythm. Xylox tilted his head. Expression, communication, emotional resonance. Humans convey information not only through words or actions, but through artistry. Astonishing. Nearby, a group of children performed a short play about cooperation and empathy. The audience laughed, clapped, and even cried in some moments. Xylox noted every reaction, processing data about human emotion, group response, and storytelling efficiency. So, humans educate through entertainment, reinforce social skills and moral values simultaneously. Ingenious. Emily watched Xylox with quiet amusement. You're learning the human method, Xylox. They integrate learning, emotion, creativity, and problem-solving across all aspects of life. By afternoon, Xylox moved to a technology demonstration showing renewable energy solutions. Young inventors explained how they could harness sunlight and wind to generate power efficiently. Xylox hovered closer, fascinated by the applications of science for practical human needs. Humans combine observation of natural systems with experimentation and innovation. Practical solutions emerge, highly adaptive species. He recorded every detail, analyzing how humans balanced risk, reward, and learning. Unlike his species, which prioritized efficiency above all else, humans used patience, testing, and creativity to ensure long-term success. Xylox realized that these methods mirrored what he had observed in child-rearing. In both cases, humans invested deeply in outcomes rather than rushing for immediate results. Later, Emily guided him to a collaborative activity area where children worked in teams to solve challenges. One task involved building a bridge from limited materials that could support a small weight. Xylox floated above, observing their planning, negotiation, and trial runs. Each group approached the challenge differently, yet all succeeded through cooperation and adaptation. Problem-solving, cooperation, iterative design. Humans teach resilience and flexibility simultaneously. Efficient in outcome, not in process, yet remarkably effective, Xylox muttered to himself. Emily nodded. Exactly. Humans succeed because they adapt, learn from mistakes, and work together. It's not about speed or strength, but intelligence, creativity, and persistence. As evening approached, Xylox reflected on the day. He had seen humans nurturing life, educating children, expressing creativity, and solving problems. Every activity demonstrated the same principle. Humans invested energy, patience, and care into every task, ensuring the next generation thrived and society advanced. Later that night, Emily took Xylox to a quiet rooftop overlooking the city. Lights twinkled below and the sounds of life drifted upward. Xylox hovered silently, antennae twitching thoughtfully. I have observed, recorded, and analyzed, he said. Humans succeed in every sphere because they combine patience, care, creativity, and connection. They nurture not only life but knowledge, culture, and innovation. Extraordinary, Emily smiled. That's the essence of humanity. It's what makes us HFY, humanity, yeah, remarkable even when we're flawed. Xylox considered this. Yes, efficiency alone does not define success. Strength alone does not guarantee survival. Humans integrate emotional intelligence, social skills, and creativity to achieve outcomes beyond what raw power could accomplish. I admire them. For weeks afterward, Xylox continued exploring Earth. He observed urban planning, agriculture, medicine, and education. Everywhere he went, humans demonstrated patience, foresight, creativity, and care. He noted how societies worked together, how communities nurtured each member, and how culture preserved knowledge across generations. Even in the simplest acts, sharing food, teaching a skill, helping a neighbor, Xylox saw the essence of human ingenuity. They did not rely solely on individual strength or speed, but on cooperation, observation, and adaptation. One day, he visited a small library where children learned to read. He watched a teacher guide young humans through letters and words, correcting mistakes gently and praising progress. Xylox observed the concentration, patience, and encouragement. Learning, reinforced through guidance and motivation, humans cultivate intelligence deliberately. Remarkable strategy. Nearby, an older student helped a younger one understand a math problem. Xylox floated closer. Knowledge transfer, peer support, humans multiply intelligence across generations, highly efficient for survival and advancement. Emily watched Xylox's reactions with quiet pride. You're seeing the full picture now. Humans thrive not just through biology, but through nurturing minds, hearts, and communities. Xylox's antennae twitched thoughtfully. Yes, humans are not merely survivors. They are architects of life, intelligence, and society. Each generation builds on the last, combining care, creativity, and problem-solving. They are extraordinary in every sense. As night fell, Xylox floated above the city, gazing at the twinkling lights. He had come seeking knowledge about human reproduction and development, but he had found something far greater, an appreciation for human ingenuity, perseverance, and emotional intelligence. Every observation reinforced the same truth. Humans succeeded not because they were perfect, fast, or strong, but because they invested deeply in life, learning, and connection. Emily joined him on the rooftop. So, Xylox, what have you learned? Xylox reflected carefully. Humans thrive because they nurture, they educate, they innovate, they cooperate, they connect emotionally and intellectually. Every step from reproduction to culture is deliberate and thoughtful. Humans are exceptional. I came seeking knowledge, but I leave with understanding and admiration. Truly HFY, Emily smiled. And that's why humans continue to explore, innovate, and thrive. Each generation learns, grows, and improves upon the last. That's the essence of our species. Xylox hovered silently for a moment, antennae quivering in thought. He realized that his mission on Earth was more than observation. It was an opportunity to witness a species at its best, to see the potential of life guided by intelligence, patience, and care. He had seen humans at play, at work, and in teaching. He had seen them nurture, guide, and innovate. And he had learned that these qualities, patience, connection, creativity, were what made humans truly remarkable. As the city lights twinkled below, Xylox finally understood what humans meant by success. It was not speed, strength, or efficiency alone. It was care, persistence, imagination, and the willingness to invest in life, knowledge, and each other. Humans were extraordinary, and he felt honored to witness it. For the first time, Xylox allowed himself to smile. He had traveled across the galaxy seeking knowledge, but he had found something more: inspiration. Humanity, with all its flaws and challenges, had shown him that the greatest strength lay in patience, care, and the courage to invest in life itself. And Xylox knew without a doubt that his journey on Earth and his understanding of humans was only beginning.